This is MakerGalaxy.
We're always talking about the future of design, the future of technology, the future of making. In a world where DIY means creating smartphone apps and connected devices, a world where building robots can be as easy as copying and pasting, how do we find the next big thing? MakerGalaxy is a show that explores the crossroads of design, technology, and the future of making. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Simon Martin, and this week we talked with Miss T. Chang, founder of the upcoming Women in Industrial Design show coming up this June in San Francisco. The show aims to highlight some of the best designs that female industrial designers are doing today, ranging from seasoned professionals to talented up-and-comers. We'll talk with T about everything from how she went from designing consumer goods to launching her own company, how females might approach the design process differently than men, as well as everything you need to know about the upcoming Women in ID show. Today's episode is brought to you by the new Objet 500 Connects 3 from Stratasys, the world's only color and multi-material 3D printer. Offering incomparably brilliant and consistent colors, plus transparent colors, the Objet 500 Connects 3 lets you create the most true-to-life modeling possible. Find out more at stratasys.com. Welcome, T. First, we want to know, where can we find the best breakfast spot on earth, and what should we get there?
I would say if you happen to be in San Francisco, it would be It's Tops. It's a coffee shop, old school diner. And as far as, they just have everything, like an old school diner would have. But the one thing I think that's worthy of getting is their waffle stuffed with either sausage and cheese or ham and cheese.
Well, I love San Francisco, and I'll definitely check that out next time I'm there. So now we'll get into the Women in Industrial Design show in a couple minutes. But before we do, can you tell us a little bit about your background and who you are, T?
Sure. So I was born in Taiwan. I was raised in Atlanta, so I'm kind of a Southern gal a little bit. I got my industrial design degree at Georgia Tech. Worked for a few years, so I worked in consumer products. So I designed the first job I had straight out of college was designing hairbrushes for Goody. Did that for a few years, then I decided I want to try something else. So I designed bicycles and bike accessories for Trek. I moved out to Madison, Wisconsin. After that, I decided I wanted to see what design was like overseas. So I decided to go back to school. So I went to Royal College of Art in London for design products. And from there, it really broadened my horizon as far as what industrial design and actually just what design means today. Then I went on to design a few more, in other industries such as furniture. I did some European furniture design, worked for an agency in New York, and so I kind of jumped around before I kind of really found the products that really resonated for me. Now,
you have your own company. So at what point in all of that did you decide it was time to start your own company, and how did you even approach that with an industrial design background?
Yeah, so I guess it's I'm one of those people that I didn't know what I wanted to do. So obviously, tried a lot of different things, and I learned a lot and figured out what resonated with me for each of the products or the industry that I worked in. I kind of took that with me. I kind of, in a way, learned through process of deduction, like, okay, I'm not interested in this, I'm not interested in that, and kind of led me to eventually around 2008. Actually, that was at the beginning of the huge recession that we had. At that time, you really couldn't, it was really difficult to find work. And even if I did find work, it was kind of work that was not that particularly interesting to me. So I figured at that time, I had enough experience. I think it's important to have worked in a variety of ways, like or manufacturers or for yourself, and also for agency, consultancies, etc. And from working through a lot in different capacity, I felt I was kind of ready to kind of do something. And so around 2008, I decided that, well, I could get paid very little to do something and design something I'm not interested in, or I could just kind of pursue my crazy idea I've had for a long time of designing sex toys and, get paid nothing. So I decided that I was going to kind of take a gamble on that, and that appealed a lot more to me. At the time I was turning 30, so I was kind of in a antsy kind of mode. I was like, man, I've always worked for somebody, and I really, really want to try to see, to really start a company of my own. So even if I failed, it's cool. I could always go back to work for someone else. So yeah, I that, my naivete and just kind of like my gusto, I was like, okay, I'm going to just do it.
And so what's the company called?
The company I started was called Incognito. It was a company that married sex toys and jewelry, which then was acquired by my current company that I'm now co-founder of called Crave, that also designs sex toys, but on a much like more than just jewelry, but on like vibrators and products that are more mainstream.
Okay, so just to take a little side route here, you say jewelry. How does that tie into the sex toy industry?
So, yeah, traditionally it doesn't. I think when people think of sex toys, they normally think of, big penises, phallic-shaped objects, bright pink, hot pink, rabbits and all that stuff. And I mean, that's just what comes to mind for everyone. And for me, I just felt this industry was just full of opportunities to really elevate the products. So I wanted to bring in something that was not normal, not associated with sex toys, such as jewelry. And it was very elegant, it was very wearable, very discreet, and the idea of something that has a little naughty function on the side. So that's kind of where it started.
Fascinating. And so, based off of all of this experience that you've had for various companies, as well as developing your own company, what sort of advantages do you think that a woman might have over a man in the design studio?
That's a good question. Well, I mean, I think, to be honest, both are really needed in the design industry. I think both sexes lend really valuable, perspectives on the issues at hand. I don't want to get into, the risk of stereotyping. I think some women have a natural aesthetic sensibility that I think can sometimes be overlooked. I think men, male designers, oftentimes they love getting into the nitty, of like how things are made and the actual mechanical aspects of it that I think sometimes women are not as able. But I'm not saying women are not capable of doing that. But I just,
right.
From what I've seen in my experience, it's just like the mechanical aspect. Sometimes men tend to gravitate towards that, and women take a different process, a little, in terms of the form, the shape, as well as also very much in the problem solving. I find maybe it's, at the risk of stereotyping again. I mean, because of the caretaking nature, I think sometimes of women. I find that women really want to get to the issues at hand. They're actually really, really practical. They really want to figure out like what is the problem that we're trying to solve. And so many women tend to do pretty good, consumer research before jumping headfirst into design, which I think is, really valuable.
Very, very well said. Considering that we're on the topic of this Women in Industrial Design show, I just thought we could tap into that a little bit just to get your insight. But with that being said, do you have a favorite female industrial designer at this point in time, living or dead?
Yeah, I do actually. Belle Kogan is one of my favorite industrial designers. I mean, she was a woman that really, in the 1930s, was very much ahead of its time. I mean, she very much was living in that saying of like, woman in a man's world. She pioneered a lot of tableware designs, silversmith, plastics, big light jewelry, and she had experiences where she would show up at a job, and the manufacturer who wanted to hire her or wanted her to freelance for them, one look at her was like, we can't work with a woman, and basically just sent her back home. But she collected her fees and whatnot. But so I very much admire that, and she had a pragmatism about her and the way she approached design. She said something to the effect of like, good design should keep the consumer happy and the manufacturer in the black. So
that's powerful.
Yeah, that's incredibly powerful. I mean, she really understood, to be an industrial designer, what it means, her role, as part of the whole manufacturing of products. And I mean, it was just really brilliant. And she's also one of the few, women who actually started her own company, as her own company and her own name, and continued to design freelance for many manufacturers at that time. So that was really cool.
That's awesome. And so with all of this experience that you've had, as well as your entrepreneurial spirit, you have created the first Women in Industrial Design show coming up this June in San Francisco as part of Design Week. So could you tell us a little bit more about what inspired you to create the show and what the show is exactly?
Sure. So the idea came to me when early on. I mean, when I moved to San Francisco, it's an amazing city. Lots of tech companies as well as design companies. I mean, it's just a really great city. And looking to kind of grow, kind of drop my roots here, I wanted to meet other women who were also industrial designers. And so I started this meetup group, Women in Industrial Design. And very quickly, I found there were lots of other women who were also in industrial design in the Bay Area. And through some of the meetings, we were talking, and we just thought this would the idea of a show. I kind of just kind of put it out there to kind of help build awareness. Like, this is something we could do. So many women were like, that would be a really cool idea. I mean, this would be really cool. And the idea just kind of kept going. And so I pitched it to IDSA, and they were like, wow, this would be really great. And so this is actually the first show that they've actually backed. This is not the first, industrial design show for women ever. There was the first one that was actually hosted by Pratt. I think back in 1994. So that's actually 20 years ago. So a lot has changed since then. So I'm excited to, really help bring this show with IDSA, for this, this year for SF Design Week.
And so what exactly are you celebrating or showing at the show?
The show is a one-night show that will highlight 15 designers, 5 up-and-coming, 10 professional female industrial designers of today. So the idea of this is really to just be able to try to elevate some of these, really great women who have been behind the design of products for a while, or, young designers, and to be able to kind of elevate them in the media, in the spotlight, so that other women designers can be like, oh, wow, here are some other female designers. Because I think one of the problems is that if I asked you, name like 3 female industrial designers, I think most of us would be at a loss to even point to anyone, really. But it's not that they haven't been there. They have been there, but it's just for whatever reason we don't highlight them. Even, projects such as Google Glass, Isabel Olsen, she was she's the lead designer for that. And, you do see, if you look that up, you'll find it. But, again, those stories are just very few. And we hear a lot about Johnny Ives, and it's just, it would just be really great to have role models and elevate female industrial designers in the media, because it's important for younger designers to kind of have an inspiration and aspire to and have role models that, they can learn from.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, that kind of ties into what I was going to say next. And that is, with the rise of STEM education and an increase in products such as Goldie Blocks inspiring more young girls to explore a career in engineering or design, how has the landscape changed since you were deciding if you wanted to be an industrial designer as a female?
It's interesting. I mean, so I went to last year's IDSA national conference. I think that was in Chicago. They did a nice little video vignette piece about how industrial designers, how they found industrial design, like how did they even get to the profession? Okay, and it was really surprising to me. I mean, because from when I was deciding, I think even now, we have this problem struggling, with industrial designs, that people are just not aware of this profession still. And from that vignette, that short little video, it was like 80 to 90% of the designers who are featured in the video. I mean, they're current industrial designers. Most of them basically said, like, well, I saw my roommate making some cool models, or I happened to pass by the studio, or I have a friend of a friend who was doing this, so I went to check it out, and then I found industrial design. So basically, people accidentally found industrial design. It was not something that people were drawn to, like, oh, I know I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a lawyer. So that is still a problem right now. So I hope that, with things such as, better either communication, or like we show young women that there are things that you can do besides, the traditional ways of, I don't know, being a nurse or being a teacher, that you can create things. I mean, with things that you're saying about like the Goldie Blocks and whatnot. I mean, hopefully it'll kind of click in their minds, and I hope that, when they go to college, they will actively seek out professions that enables them to create the world around them, because I think that's incredibly powerful.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, on the alternate side of that, what advice might you have for parents who have a young daughter that's leaning towards a career in architecture, engineering, design? I mean, is there anything that you think would help kind of influence or supplement in terms of after-school activities or anything of the sort?
Well, I don't have kids, so I don't know exactly what, after-school activities would be. But whenever I talk to parents who, with like, I have lots of friends with kids, but also like my cousins who have older kids, but when they're talking about how their kid, or whoever has like an interest in the arts, and a lot of them are like, oh, but I don't know if he's going to be an artist. And I'm like, wait, hold on. There's like other stuff. Not, just because someone shows an artistic talent doesn't mean that, they're just, the only career option is to be a starving artist. There's design. And so I try to tell them about, there's graphic design, there's industrial design, and in industrial design, you can be in furniture design, you can be in, so many other things. So I think having that artistic, inclination, that helps them to kind of have a little bit of building blocks. So I think it'd be great to encourage them in that way. And they should just tell their kids to just follow what feels good and right and what they're excited about, and move towards that. Because I think in the world of design, it's also not so clear. Like, it wasn't clear to me what I wanted to do. I had tried a lot of different things. So having, I think it's just good for parents to encourage kids to maybe move towards things that feel right to them, instead of trying to pigeonhole them like, hey, you're going to be an architect, so, you should like learn how to do this and appreciate this. Whereas it should be organic, it should be natural, and just encourage them what makes them, what ignites their passion, really.
Definitely. And alternately, what is one piece of advice that you might have for an older female listener who might be in school themselves right now, studying industrial design, in terms of starting their own business or getting their name out there and embracing their role in the industrial design community as a female designer?
That's a good one. On our Tumblr site, I think it's idwomen.tumblr.com. One of the first posts we put up was something from actually Madonna, and it says, "Darling, just fucking own it." And I think that's really powerful in that, really, I mean, as someone who has worked in a variety of capacity, and I think sometimes it's really scary, I think, for anyone, really, when they're thinking about starting a business or do their own thing, to just even the idea of kind of breaking away and actually doing it. That is, I think, the biggest hurdle for most people, and that hinders them from even taking that leap. And so I have friends who have worked for many, many, many years. I mean, they're in their, late 30s, early 40s, who are just now starting their own business, and there is no feeling like it. And, they're still in their early stages of their business, but it is really, really refreshing, and it is a completely different way of working. So I would say, look, it's never too late, and I think it's something that people ought to try, because worst case, hey, it may not work out. Sure, that's fine, but you would have given it a go, and you would have no regrets. I mean, that's at least my personal mantra in life, is that you should give it a try, give things a try once, and at least you will have known. Otherwise, I would never want to be on my deathbed thinking like, what could have been, would have been, should have been. So yeah, I have friends that are just starting their own business, and it's a really cool journey to start. So I'd say it's never too late.
Very well said. So the show will be a part of Design Week in San Francisco this June. Anything else you would like our listeners to know about the show or what you do, T?
No, I mean, the show is coming up soon. We're very excited. There's a lot of great positive energy. I mean, I couldn't believe, it's one of those things like, once you put something in motion, then kind of the universe sort of like kind of responds to you. And it's been sort of this way with this show that, hey, IDSA and a lot of great media has really helped me put this out there, but it's just the responses that I've been getting from women. They're like, I'm so glad to see the show. I've been getting, so many of these really kind emails, and I think it's just great. So the energy is so there, and we are just beyond excited. So, lastly, actually, we are actually still seeking for sponsors. The call for entries has ended, but we are still seeking for sponsors. So, if anyone's interested, we have right now some great major sponsors such as IDEO, Coalesce, a division of Steelcase, my company Crave, as well as Astrolab Studios, who the show is going to be at on June 14th. So yeah, by the way, this show is going to be June 14th. And so if anyone wants to contribute anything from $50 up to $1,000, anything in between, please, we'd be happy to chat. So please, let us know, let IDSA know. Yeah, that'd be really, really great.
We'll do our best to put the word out there. But thank you so much for your time today, T, and great work putting the show together.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Today's episode was brought to you by the new Objet 500 Connects 3 from Stratasys, the world's only color and multi-material 3D printer. Offering incomparably brilliant and consistent colors, plus transparent colors, the Objet 500 Connects 3 lets you create the most true-to-life modeling possible. Find out more at stratasys.com. Thanks for listening in today, and if you'd like to find out more about T and the Women in ID show, be sure to check them out at idwomen.tumblr.com. On our next episode, we'll be talking with Brooks Myers, owner of Knockout Concepts, a company that aims to make 3D scanning easier and more accessible for everyone. I'm your host, Simon Martin. Stay tuned and check in with us next week on MakerGalaxy.
a production of EVD Media.